Hi, everyone. I'm Lindsey Moppert here, joined with our NFL and Bills insider Vic Carucci ahead of the Bills and Chiefs long-awaited Week 11 action. Vic, I want to start things off here today just talking about the rivalry between these two teams, whether it's the postseason, whether it's the regular season. It is always the game of the week.
Yeah, this is incredibly special, I think, not just for Bills fans or Chiefs fans for that matter, but for the entire NFL to have a rivalry of this magnitude, to have a game that is a headliner when these teams play, regardless of the time of year. And it just makes the whole thing that much more special. The entire league has its eyes on this game.
And when you think about the Bills and Chiefs specifically, Vic, you think about the elite quarterbacks in Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen. What do you feel like makes them, the two of them, really two of the top two quarterbacks in the league? What makes them so entertaining to watch?
These great rivalries are always defined by the quarterback matchup. You can go through the years, Tom Brady versus Peyton Manning, and you look at this game, and it's been Mahomes and Allen Mahomes for years now. And it's built up this, I think, anticipation level of who's going to outduel the other. And they've had some great duels. That's the other thing. They've both played each other to the max in the game. Regardless of the outcome, there have been times when you just said, okay, both guys were great, but one team had to lose. And I think what it is not only just the tremendous talent they have as throwers of the football, but their ability to make plays beyond the pocket, on the move. Now, Allen is the better runner of the two. We know that, and he can do some incredible things running with the football. Patrick Mahomes can also make big plays as just a runner, but it's really, I think, Mahomes' movement in the pocket and then those improvisational throws that make everybody, stand on their feet or just be at the edge of their seat. With Allen, it'll be that patented run to the sideline and just before he goes out of bounds, heave that ball for a completion. I mean, there are patented great plays that both quarterbacks make that I think, again, if you're not a fan of either team, you still find it very exciting.
And Vic, certainly they are capable of making those big plays, as you said. That's really what they're known for, both guys here. But the injuries this week, as they have been really the entire season for the Bills that we've seen, have been a problem. The Bills this week dealing with Keon Coleman. We learned that very early on that he would be out. Dalton Kincaid with a knee injury, also now out for this weekend. What does this development mean on how you feel the offense may play this weekend?
There's no question that it takes away from the Bills' offense to not have a Dalton Kincaid there. But I'm not going to say that without Dalton Kincaid, without Keon Coleman, that they're sunk. And even if it turns out that Amari Cooper, who is questionable, if he ends up either not playing or is limited, I know indications are he'll be out there. But I still don't see that as necessarily meaning while the Bills will have no potency offensively. They have found ways to move the football through the air, and you still have Khalil Shakir doing some remarkable stuff. He may not be as splashy as other receivers, but so productive, so efficient in his movement, and such a smart receiver. And then Mac Hollins, another highly instinctive guy and big playmaker who knows his way around and through coverage. And then there's Dawson Knox, and I think this is the guy you got to keep an eye on, because without Dalton Kincaid, it is up to Dawson Knox to make sure the tight end position has an impact on this game, because we know very well with the Kansas City Chiefs what's going to happen there. Travis Kelce is their Bills killer at tight end. Dawson Knox, he may not necessarily replicate what Travis Kelce does, but he has got to be a significant force.
Now, Vic, I want to look a little bit closer at Amari Cooper and just his situation. Has been wearing a brace. A topic of conversation is just that he would be playing with the brace. It's a little bit uncomfortable, something that he has to get used to. Yesterday, he did say he was feeling significantly better after missing the last 2 games. But I want to flip it and ask you rather, what would his presence on the field this weekend do for the Bills offense, rather than, maybe if he wasn't there, they would still be okay as they have been the last 2 weeks?
Well, if Amari Cooper is there as his full self, then it's a huge difference. It gives the Chiefs a coverage problem. He can get open deep. He's a big playmaker. He's got excellent hands. There's a lot to like with Amari Cooper that we saw from the very first time he took to the field as a Buffalo Bill. Now, we haven't seen much, and then at times not at all, of his appearance. But now that there's a potential for him to be back, if he's the full guy, that's great. If he's less than the full guy but is out there, I still think he will command a certain amount of coverage attention from the Chiefs that could again benefit Mac Hollins, that could benefit Khalil Shakir, that could benefit Dawson Knox, that could benefit James Cook or Ray Davis, who also, I'm talking about them as part of the receiving game.
And Vic, I want to touch on one more key injury this week for the Bills, of course, one that maybe we haven't seen, as we've seen the team kind of deal with some receiver problems and situations like that. Spencer Brown, questionable for Sunday's meeting. Of course, this would mean Ryan Vandermark would fill in. How do you feel like maybe if he's not ready to go, how much is this going to impact the game on Sunday?
Not having Spencer Brown in there will have some impact, because the strength of the Chiefs' defense is definitely that defensive front, that line. And there would be no doubt in my mind, if Brown isn't on the field, they are going to do some things. Steve Spagnuolo, their defensive coordinator, with stunts and games and movement of certain people to create a mismatch and get some of the better pass rushers they have in position to bring some heat from that end, or at least try to create the illusion of that. But it will be up to the Bills to try to control the line of scrimmage as best they can, because that, to me, is a big difference-making point in this game. We can talk about the quarterbacks all day long because they're great and we know they make big plays. But if there are problems in protection for the Bills, or an inability to create enough running room for James Cook, for Ray Davis, then that will be trouble. That could make for a very long day for Josh Allen, because Chris Jones and the rest of that Chiefs defensive front will be bringing the heat. But I think Spencer Brown, if he's playing but not his full self, and there's a possibility they could try to see what they have out there with him and maybe do some alternating. Not an ideal situation, but Spencer Brown, when he's healthy, has played quite well. Maybe he's had a few more penalties than you like, but he can be such a dominant offensive tackle.
And as you said, Vic, it's really the trickle-down effect with that when you look at the offense. Now, in terms of the Chiefs' injuries, I just want to touch on one that's pretty critical. It's a big one. Their kicker, Harrison Butker, was placed on IR with a knee injury. Will miss the next couple of weeks, but he has really been a reliable source for them. In a year where maybe the Chiefs' offense doesn't look like the same offense that we've seen in years past, a lot of the games have come down to, a kick, or I believe, they've only won one game with more than 10 points advantage. So how big of a blow is this for the Chiefs?
This is a huge blow to not have not just a reliable kicker for them, one of the most reliable kickers all time in the NFL. Harrison Butker is money, and you take him away from the Chiefs, you're taking away a lot. Right, you look at their offense and you say, okay, they don't necessarily put it in the end zone every time they have the ball. Well, neither do the Bills, and the Bills are scoring at a pretty good clip, a much better clip than the Chiefs. But if you don't have a reliable kicker, and we've had this discussion about the Bills as well with Tyler Bass's performance, but with Butker, sending him out there to kick is fairly automatic. And I believe that from a Chiefs standpoint, if they can't depend on those money kicks, when they get close enough to get those field goals, yeah, that could easily be the difference in the game. And think about this rivalry. Think about how close these games have been. Go back to that playoff game last January between these teams. You eliminate the ability to get a money field goal whenever it might be, but especially in those final seconds, yeah, that decides the game.
And Vic, now the Bills are 8-2. They've won 5 straight. We know the history, beating the Chiefs maybe in the regular season, but not when it matters most in the postseason. Players have been downplaying it all week long, saying it's just the next game is the most important game because it's the next one, right? But what would a win mean for this Bills team if they could, hand the Chiefs their first loss of the season?
Yeah, it's huge. And ignore the cliches. It's just another game. It's just week 11. Fine. All of that is true, but it's not how they actually feel. They're not going to tell you that this feels like a playoff game because if they say it, yeah, that violates the coaching rule that I'm sure Sean McDermott has or Andy Reid has for the Chiefs. Guess what? It is like a playoff game. It'll feel like that atmosphere in Orchard Park. It's going to be electric, and it matters because psychologically, I believe, and I don't want to go too deep in the weeds on this, but I think the outcome, even though the most obvious impact would be a higher playoff seeding, but it's bigger than that. It's a confidence, a belief. First of all, you'd be ending the only unbeaten streak that is going on in the NFL with the Chiefs. Secondly, you put a thought not only in the back of their mind that, okay, they might be returning to Orchard Park, again, trying to avenge a regular season loss. And meanwhile, for the Bills, what a confidence booster this is. Your record would go to 9-2, and look at what you've been overcoming through that stretch with all the injuries you've had. This, to me, would represent, of course, a crowning jewel type of victory. Now, there's a lot of season left and a lot for them that they'd still have to get done. But I think the confidence, the momentum would be just like a tidal wave flowing out of this game if the Bills were to win it. And if the Chiefs were to win it, it's another notch. It would give them that sense that, well, maybe we're on a ride to a perfect season. But there's a lot that goes into that, and you might be resting starters later in the year. So from a comparison standpoint of how much this game would mean, I think a win would mean that much more to the Buffalo Bills.
Well said, Vic. And looking at Kansas City, the rest of their schedule, they are favored to win the rest of the games in their schedule. So the Bills may be the only team that can possibly, hand them their first loss. The Bills, on the other hand, still have to run through the 49ers, the Red Hot Lions, all of that stuff. So a little bit more of a difficult road ahead that they could use that confidence, as you said. So Bills and Chiefs, Week 11, long awaited, the game of the week, as everyone knows, right here in Buffalo. It's going to be at Highmark Stadium with kickoff set for 4:25. For now, for Vic Carucci, I'm Lindsey Moppert. We'll see you here next time.